Representative Greg Landsman joining us, Democrat from Ohio. He serves on the Energy and Commerce Committee. He also serves the 1st District. Representative Landsman, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
A big week for the Energy and Commerce Committee. What is it going to be like as a Democrat as part of the reconciliation process?
I mean, the key for us is to make it clear to the folks in the room and people at home that this is a decision between taking away people's health care and or giving tax cuts to the super wealthy. I mean, that's the decision, because we all agree that the people who need tax relief should get tax relief in this bill: farmers, small businesses, middle-class families, workers. So we agree on that. The question then becomes, do you give more tax giveaways to the super wealthy, or in their plan, do you cut people's health care? We would like and will fight to protect people's health care and say the people at the top should pay all their taxes, and that will pay for all of the tax relief for the people who need it.
As far as the approach the Republicans are taking, it went from initially per capita caps, now more work requirements and everything else. What do you think about that softening as it's been described in some of the publications?
I think the softening is spin. They're still taking away people's health care. I mean, millions of people are going to lose their health care.
Then as the week plays out, then what's the specific? What's the plan then as far as the negotiations? I mean, you have a voice, but what happens as far as how to use that voice?
We're going to use every procedural mean that we have to keep them in the room and to keep the debate front and center, and to force them to answer the hard questions over and over and over again, which is, however it is that they want to describe their changes, it is still going to mean people lose their health care. There are 3 buckets: people who lose their health care outright, people whose health care will go up, the cost will go up, and they will ultimately lose their care. And then the rest of us, when you pull that much money out of the healthcare system, access to care begins to diminish for most people, if not all of us, because hospitals will close their doors, doctors' offices will shutter their doors, et cetera. I mean, all of a sudden, what's available becomes less.
To their approach, frequent eligibility checks, work requirements on beneficiaries, changes to the way states raise their. What's wrong with those things per se?
So the work requirements is a paperwork thing. Everyone on Medicaid who can work is already working. They know that. They've done this in 2 states. It did not change anything in terms of people working. People, again, who are already working are working. Those who can't. All it did was create this paperwork, mountain of paperwork, and people didn't enroll. That's where they saved the money, right? And so all of a sudden people lose their health care. That will ultimately lead to people dying. I mean, this is a life or death situation. What was the other gimmick? I'm sorry.
It was the eligibility checks and work requirements.
Yeah, so what they're doing is they're creating all of these additional hurdles, and they know, based on where they did this in Arkansas and Alabama, that people will just walk away. They don't get their health insurance, and it has deadly outcomes.
Our previous guest, one of them had said, ultimately, this goes to the sustainability of Medicaid. When you hear those arguments, what's the response?
No.
Is there a sustainability problem?
We need to change Medicaid.
Medicaid, thank you.
Yeah, we need to change Medicaid in that we need to ensure that everyone's covered with all of the coverage they need. And you pay for that by, one, making sure that it's the leanest possible program. And the GAO puts out a report every year, and they list out all the waste, fraud, and abuse. None of that waste, fraud, and abuse is in this bill. None of it. So yes, there are opportunities to pursue waste, fraud, and abuse. They're not doing that. What they're doing is they're trying to save money, and this is pretty clear. They're trying to save as much money as they can to pay for tax cuts for the super wealthy.
Our guest is with us until 9:35. If you want to ask him questions, 202-748-8000 for Democrats, 202-748-8001 for Republicans, and 202-748-8002 for Independents. You can text us your thoughts this morning at 202-748-8003. Your committee's chair, Brett Guthrie, put out an op-ed on what's going to take place this week. And he starts, or at least he says this in part, saying it was the Biden administration responsible for the problem, to having to impose burdensome regulations on Medicaid that jeopardized the program's long-term health. The last president stripped away guardrails against fraud by making it more difficult for states to remove ineligible people from Medicaid enrollment and expanding coverage such that capable but unemployed adults could take resources meant for people in need. It goes on from there.
Yeah, so they use language, and you heard it there, which was people in need. they're trying to distinguish all of the people who have health care now from the people who need it. See what they're doing? Right? Well, these people need it. These people do not. That's millions of people that they're going to rip health care away from because in their minds they don't need it.